LTV Numbers was created to answer one very specific question better than anybody else. And that is, how much can I spend to acquire a customer? And so I would ask you right now, do you know the answer to that question? Confidently? Do you know it for every product, funnel, traffic source, and affiliate? Do you know what your customers are worth the day that they buy, 30 days later, 60, 90, 180 days later, for each product, funnel, traffic source, and affiliate? You see, when it comes down to it, somewhere along the line right there, you couldn't confidently say yes. And the reality is, only about 1% of businesses actually can. So LTV Numbers was created to make it so that you can answer that question with confidence. Since we started, we've had over $550 million worth of sales data come through the platform across 1 billion transactions and 5.5 million customer records worth of data. So we've seen a lot of data. We know what good LTV curves look like. And most importantly, we know how to answer this question better than anybody else. Now, to answer this question starts with data visibility, being able to see our customer data at different levels of detail so we can really see what's going on with our customer buying journeys and our LTV. So with all that said, let's dive into the software and see how it works. Okay, so level 1 of data visibility that most businesses can't do. They cannot separate new customer data from returning customer data. So what you can see here in this first view of LTV Numbers, which we call our daily dashboard, is you can see a high-level overview of how our sales data break down between what we call the front end and the back end. The front end is new customers placing their first order, and the back end is every order after that. Okay? If all you can see is this number right here, but you can't break it down to say 1.4 million in sales came from new customers and about 945,000 came from returning customers, you're already a long ways away from being able to answer this question. Because as you can see, as we build up our business and we have more and more customers coming back and buying again, just seeing this number loses a lot of the useful information, right? We got to be able to drill down, break it down between front end and back end. We also need to be able to do this for each product that we have. So what are the top products for our new customers, right? Being able to see the breakdown here, the top front end products. Same question for the back end. So when customers come back and buy from us, what are the top products that they're buying? Same question for the different sales funnels that we have. What are the top front end funnels? What are the top back end funnels? If we have affiliates sending us traffic, what are the top affiliates sending us new customers? And what are the top affiliates sending us existing customers? Being able to break down the data between front end and back end is level 1 of the data visibility that we need to be able to see what's going on with the customer journey and go below the surface of just looking at some of these high level numbers like total revenue and total number of sales. So that brings us to level 2. This is what we call our journey dashboard. And this allows us to zoom in on what's happening with the customer journeys inside of our business. So up here we have a revenue graph, just to give you some context. And now let's look at this card right here. This looks at how our new customers become returning customers. Okay, through our experience, we found a lot of benchmarks around what these numbers should be. And you can see here in this particular case, there were about 18,000 new customers that came in. And of those 18,000, about 3,000 came back and bought again. So that's about a 17% returning customer rate. Across these customers, we had about 1.4 million in front-end sales. And these customers here came back and spent about 450,000 in back-end sales. So you see what we've done is we've taken that front-end, back-end concept, but now we're actually looking at how our new customers here become returning customers here. And I know that for a business to be able to really grow and scale, we need to have a healthy returning customer rate. Depending on your industry, it could be somewhere between 15, 25, or even 30%. But if you can't see this at all, you would have no way of knowing how healthy your business is in terms of returning customers coming back and buying from you again. And when it comes down to it, returning customers coming back and buying from you again, that is the lifeblood of your business. It's not just making a sale one time. It's being able to get those customers to come back and buy from you again. So being able to see this right here, how the new customers become returning, critically important. Same thing for back-end revenue. If we do 1.4 million in sales on the front end, how much do we expect to get on the back end? Well, in my experience, we want this number to be somewhere between 25 to 100% or even more of the front end. But again, it comes down to visibility. If you can't see this and all you can see is grand total revenue numbers inside your business, you don't know if you're doing good or not. It's all about the visibility. So we have front end, back end in terms of customers and revenue. So the next question that you might be asking is, okay, I can see front end, I can see back end, how many customers, how much revenue. But when they come back, what do they actually buy? And if we come down here, we can now see the top products that the returning customers are buying and how much each of them is adding to customer lifetime value. So out of the 18,000, we can see how many customers bought each of these top products, how much revenue those sales generated, and what the LTV gain contribution was for each of those products. And now we have over here what I consider to be the holy grail graph in business, and that is the LTV curve. What does the LTV look like at every single day of the customer journey? Okay, not just a table summarizing day 0, 30, 60, and 90, but every single day of the journey, visually laid out so you can see the jumps, you can see the spikes, and you can see how this value evolves and changes over time. And we have that for you right here. Finally, down below, we have a summary of the back end. So this is of all the returning customers who came back and bought from me, what were they buying? You can see in this case, we had 4,800 customers come back, about 948,000 in back end revenue. And here were the top products that they purchased. So this, being able to see how our new customers become returning customers, this is level 2 of the data visibility. So now let's get into level 3. And this here is our analysis page. This is where you can do all sorts of powerful things. But let's start by looking at what we touched on the last page, which is this LTV curve right here. So this, again, shows you LTV at every single day of the customer journey. But here's the thing. There are many LTV curves going on in our business all the time. We have LTV curves for each product, for each funnel, for each traffic source, for each affiliate. So we need to be able to filter and break these things down to be able to look at all of these different LTV curves to really derive the insights. So what you can see here is our ability to break down by platform. So if you're on Shopify, you're on ClickFunnels, you're on WooCommerce, ClickBank, whatever it is, to be able to break down by all the different platforms that you sell on. Different data integrations, different sales funnels, different products, different traffic sources, different affiliates. So if I were to, for example, break down by funnel right now, this is now going to look at all the different funnels that I have in my business and calculate the LTV curve for each one. Now here's why this is so important. If the only thing that you knew was this, which already you'd be in the top 1% of businesses at this point to even have this LTV curve. If this was the only thing that you had, we're looking at all of the customers combined. But here's the thing. If you combine everything together, the averages kill the insights. We need to be able to drill down in individual products, funnels, and traffic sources to really figure out how much we can afford to spend. We can't rely on a global average, and I'll show you why. So right here, you can see from a global average standpoint, let's look at our day 90 LTV. You can see it's about $95, okay? Now, if I go back to this breakdown by funnel, here's what you see. There's one funnel that starts at 170 and grows from there to a day 90 value of about 215. This red funnel down here on the bottom starts at about 45, goes to about 48. This green funnel goes from 127 up to about 160. You see how if all you knew was this, all you knew was this number here, 95, it wouldn't actually tell you anything because each of these funnels requires a different cost to acquire a customer. And the only way you can see that is if you have data visibility at this level of detail, okay? And the same concept applies for all the different products that you have or maybe different traffic sources. For example, let's say you're running on Facebook, Google, Instagram. You have different traffic sources that you're running inside your business. Well, you probably know that the cost to acquire a customer is going to vary from Facebook to Google to Instagram because it's different customers that you're attracting. So what you can see here is now we have LTV curves for each of our different traffic sources. And you can see how they split out. And while they might have a similar overall shape, if you knew, for example, this red curve around, let's look at day 90. Day 90 is about $110. Well, you can see the green curve on top is about $113. Now, this might be a small difference, but in my experience, these can be huge differences as you look across different platforms, as you scale up, and things start to evolve and change over time. So imagine if one of these was 60 and another one was 100. You wouldn't want to be using a global average for setting your customer acquisition cost targets on Facebook and Google if the actual LTVs are $40 apart, right? But again, it comes back to data visibility. If you can't see it at this level of detail, then you can't really make decisions from that data. Okay, now in addition to our LTV curve up here, there's a lot more that we can see. You can see this table summarizes many metrics. I'm just going to touch on a few. We have things like number of new customers, number of total orders, the AOV, order revenue, rebill revenue, gross revenue, refunds, net revenue. And we can even break down our revenue at a per funnel level or a per product level or whatever you want based on the front end and the back end. And this table is sortable and searchable, so you can explore this data however you want. It's extremely powerful. Now, in addition to the LTV graph, we have a revenue curve here, which you can also look at through these different lenses. Look at it daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. We also have the ability to look at AOVs over time. So as you're optimizing your sales funnels, trying to increase the AOV, trying different price points, trying different upsell flows, we can actually see day to day, week to week, month to month, how these AOVs are evolving and changing. And hopefully they're going up as we continue to optimize things and we get a higher AOV as a result. Okay, we have a few other graphs here as well. I'll show you this acquisition graph, which allows you to look at how many new customers and returning customers are coming into your business daily, weekly, monthly. And once again, for any of the things that you can break down here: product, funnel, traffic source, affiliate. And you can also slice and dice the data however you want by applying filters. So if you want to do, for example, say I just want to look at my Facebook traffic, right? You can select a particular data source. Let's say it was Facebook. And then within your Facebook traffic, you apply a breakdown by funnel or any combination that you can think of. Between the filters and the breaking down, you can get to the level that you need to drive meaningful insights. Because as we've already established, it's not good enough to rely on global averages for these things. Once you have the data visibility, we must go to a level of depth that allows you to derive the insights and take action on the data. Okay, last thing that I want to show you before I wrap up here is what we call path analysis. So you can see these LTV curves, and this is great. Once again, if you have this level of visibility, you're already ahead of 99% of businesses. Now, with that said, you might be looking at this LTV curve and saying, all right, I can see the LTV curve, but why does it look that way? What are the customers buying? When are they buying it to create this LTV curve? Well, for any group of customers, whether right here you can see we're looking at all 18,000, or if we're within a funnel breakdown, you can see each row on the table. We have this little icon called path analysis. So I'm just going to look at all the customers for simplicity. So what we can do here is essentially click on this and zoom in on all 18,000 of these customers to see what their buying behavior actually looks like from the day they're acquired for the rest of their life. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in to the earlier days of the journey. Let's look at the first 120 days. So what you can see here now, we have the same LTV curve on the left, but now we have a back-end buying activity heat map. And you can see how much LTV is being added day by day. Look at that. Now we have a spike on day 7. We have another spike out here on day 37. Well, it just so happens in this particular data set, there's a 7-day trial product, and then at day 7 it rebills, and then every 30 days after that. So we can see these spikes in the customer journey because we have this level of visibility. Now, in addition, we can also see an overview down here of the contributions of our backend to LTV. So the backend of this business is adding about $25 to customer lifetime value. Of the 18,000 front-end customers that came in, about 3,200 of them come back and buy again. And when they do, it contributes about $450,000 in net revenue. And you can see the rest of the stats here: gross, refund, orders, rebills, refund counts. So you can see all of these things. This is an overview of the back end. This is critically important visibility because most businesses can't see what happens after the customer is acquired. It just goes into an invisible abyss. Right? We don't want that to happen to you. So now that you can see this, the logical next question would be, all right, I can see what is happening in terms of when sales are being made and how much LTV is being contributed, but what are they actually buying when they do? Okay, for that we have a back-end breakdown, just like we had for the front end. So I can, for example, break down the back end by product. And now this same graph that we had before is color-coded. And so you can see the back-end buying behavior on a per product level. So you can see this spike right here on day 7 is actually a direct result of our green product, which is product 460 right here. So when you craft strategic and repeatable customer journeys in your business, which is critically important to be able to create strategic and repeatable outcomes and be able to raise the scale ceiling of the business, we want to be able to visualize, are we making sales on the back end when we expect? Maybe I have a 14-day follow-up sequence where I start selling on day 10. Do I see a spike around day 10? Are they buying as much as I hoped that they were buying? Now you can actually see it. So now the invisible becomes visible and you can make decisions off of this data. Because ultimately, if your goal is to scale as much as possible, you want to raise what we call the scale ceiling of your business. You need a strategic and repeatable customer journey that maximizes LTV. So if you're going to have that in place, you better have the visibility to see the impact of your back-end marketing throughout that customer journey. This right here allows you to do exactly that. I can see what my most impactful back-end products are, how much they're contributing to LTV, customer counts, revenues, and so on and so forth. And probably most importantly, I can see when these sales are happening. That way I know if the customer journey is playing out the way that I intend for it to. Okay, that is the power of path analysis. You can see the customer buying journey in great detail. And this is how you strategically optimize your customer journeys to maximize LTV. All right, last thing we're going to look at before we wrap up here. We have a full customer explorer. This allows you to look at any of your customers, see all the different sales that were made, what platform they bought on, the funnel, the product, all the different traffic parameters, the affiliate IDs. And you can also slice and dice this data to be able to create very powerful customer groups. So say, for example, I'm advertising and I want to see not just who my customers are, but I want to see who my best customers are. Well, I could, for example, apply an LTV filter and say, show me all the customers with an LTV greater than $200. And now right here, I have an audience of 5,000 customers that I can just hit export, send off to my media buying team to create a lookalike audience of not just customers, but my highest LTV customers. This is one of the most powerful things that you can do once you get all of this data in one place, right? You bring together your Shopify data, your ClickFunnels, your Samcart, your ClickBank, your ThriveCart, all under one roof. We stitch together the customer journeys. Now we can see all of this information all in one place. Once you have it, you now have full visibility into who your best customers are. And when you know that, you can use it to attract even more of them. Okay? So with that said, that is the overview of LTV numbers. And ultimately, what you can see here is the common theme. It's the power of data visibility. We have 3 different levels. We have the high level, front end, back end breakdown. We have how our new customers become returning customers. We have our LTV curves and our path analysis to be able to zoom in on these customer journeys and see why the LTV curves look the way that it does. When you have this level of visibility, you're in the top 1% of business. And when you have this level of visibility, you're able to make far better decisions than many of the other businesses that you're competing with. Now that you have this, you can be data-driven in your approach. You can implement a strategic and repeatable customer journey that maximizes for LTV so that you can spend more to acquire a customer than anybody else. Because as they say, the business that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. Well, that starts with having visibility into how much you can actually spend to acquire a customer, which is everything that we talked about today. Then once you have that visibility, you can start taking the actions to maximize the LTV and maximize how much you can afford to spend to acquire a customer. And that is how you win. All right, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon.